Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and someone in the comments asked me a couple weeks ago if I would give a little tour of all the different things that I have created. And so I thought, well, I'll do that. Some of the stuff I've sold, so I don't have it. I'll try to find photos if I can. I'll put those up. Someone else mentioned the evolution, that they like to see how an artist evolves. And so I'll start chronologically. I'll start with the first things that I started doing when I kind of began on this journey. I had a pretty successful jewelry design business, and for a whole lot of reasons I had to shut my studio down. I had a studio in Long Island City. It was a beautiful studio. It was a corner studio. Gosh, I loved that studio. It had windows that faced into Manhattan and north, so it faced west and north, and the sunsets were it was just beautiful at night. You could see the city from the windows, and I would often stay late at night and work. But when I shut that down, I was really, it was another moment of kind of, what am I doing? I've had a few of those in my life. You live long enough, I think you do. So, so I'll start with, how I kind of just dabbling in the embroidery, which was more, not traditional, but certainly not what I'm doing now, and really having trouble with the whole, who am I in this? Where am I in this? How is this reflecting me? And I mean, I guess everything we do reflects us on some level, but I didn't feel myself fully in the work until I started, really until the last 6 months. That's when I really, and that's also, interestingly, when the fear stopped. I think that's really interesting that I finally found what I'll call my voice, fully found my voice, felt that this was finally representative of me and what I want to express, what I feel is a unique way. And as a result of that, and of course a lot of inner work, the fear has for the most part left me. I mean, there are moments where I'll think, I don't know where I'm going. Can I do this? Is this going to work? But I don't feel that fear, that abject fear that would nip at my heels as I used to. Tell me what your trajectory's been. Has it been? I know a lot of you have dabbled in a lot of different things. What's the thing that has felt most the best representation of you, the best expression of you, I guess is what I want to say, that I finally found the materials that when I work with them, I feel they are expressing me. So tell me what yours are. I'd love to know. This piece I have sort of crammed up here because I just didn't have any other place to put it for now, but it was the first piece where I designed this bird. I can't remember what it's called. It's a African hornbill, longtail, something. It was a photo my husband took while he took our daughter to the zoo in Central Park, and the photo was so fabulous. And so I made this. This was my first attempt at doing hand stitching in a non-traditional way. This was a piece that I was just kind of experimenting with, and I put a zipper in here. It was called Beyond the Garden. This was another piece that I started. It was supposed to be like a New York City Central Park, and I got tired of doing it, so I never finished it either. I had this idea that I was gonna, like you can see, there's a bicycle wheel that's where the bike has been stolen and the wheel is left, and the pigeon, and never got back to that. This was my orangutan. Again, didn't finish. So for all of you with, all these different things that have never been finished, you're not alone. I've got them too. I don't think I'll ever go back to these, but you never know, so there they are. Or I'll cut them up, do something else with them. This was how I started my channel. Sue Spargo was doing a project with, I believe, 1-inch circles. I can't remember. In any case, I started doing the left-handed version of all the stitches with her approval. And but I didn't follow her designs because she was taking them all down and was then after the project was over, this was during COVID, she was selling the pattern, and so I decided to just do the 1-inch circles and do my own designs. But this was where I started teaching a lot of stitches, and I never finished it, but there it is. This is my drawstring bag that I made, and I did, let's see, I think we met weekly and covered each of those shapes. It was a kind of stitch-along workshop that I did, and then I have the pattern on my website, which you can purchase. The links are all down below in the description. This was another project I started. I was going to make a pattern. That was the intention, to make it into a pillow, and I never finished it. And I just kind of got tired of it. It was very stitch intensive, and I sort of, I don't know, I started getting a little bored. So I moved on. These are the first two pieces I made as I was just beginning my improvisational stitching. This one was the first, where my challenge to myself was grab the first piece of linen that you can see, and this was lying on the top of the pile. And I just started stitching and seeing what I could do with just this sort of hand-dyed piece of linen. And this was also, there's hand-dyed t-shirting with the Caran d'Ache and tons of different stitching. There's some more t-shirting. This is t-shirting back here. I think this is t-shirting in here as well, and here. I had just played around and figured out how to do stuff like that. And then this piece, again, I challenged myself to just grab the next piece of linen. It was a color I didn't really speak to me, but I kind of challenged myself, we'll just use it. And so I did. And then I added all kinds of things. This is t-shirting here. And there's some cheesecloth here, bits of cheesecloth. I've got some burlap in here. And these are little cast-on bouillon loops. And I believe this is actually upside down. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to be oriented. Although the other way was fine too. But this was the way I meant it to go. It was supposed to be kind of a wave coming. This is another big piece that I started when I was really starting to get into the improvisational stitching. This is one of the first ones that I began experimenting. Actually, this is, I think, the third one. More of that improvisational stitching, where I would take a piece of fabric and just kind of start stitching and adding stuff, playing and seeing what happened. This piece is called Remembering My Mother, because it was influenced by my trip to Africa and the ways in which they use materials that are cut in sort of different shapes that they then apply onto a loose weaved fabric. This piece is a huge, big quilt that I made from hand-dyed fabrics after taking some of Pat Polly's workshops, who does amazing hand-dyed, and you can see the big monoprint there. And then another one here. There's another one behind this, which I'll try to pull out. And then we have my big piece. That was the big piece that I made, or I started it at the artist residency in just outside of Paris, and then I finished it when I came back. I started to move away from so much hand stitching and experimenting with other ideas. This was a whole series when I was doing collage and paint and playing around with that. This was right when I started to really have kind of I guess, artistic crisis. I was no longer wanting to just do this more sort of embroidery and that kind of thing, and so I started to dive into this stuff, and which I loved, but it ultimately wasn't. I hadn't figured out the right combination of materials that really spoke to me, not yet. This was one of the pieces, mixed media, where I started to try to incorporate fabrics that I then painted over with the collage, which, it still wasn't, I wasn't feeling it yet. It was okay. I was enjoying myself, but I hadn't found my voice yet. This piece was New York City, my cityscape. I think it's upside down, actually. This is a more recent piece that I started working on I think when we were in South America, in Argentina and Chile. I actually made chicken wire in the back to make it sort of undulate, and I'll show you. You can see from the side how it doesn't lie flat, which is kind of cool. Okay, so you can just see my two big pieces, right? Here and then here. So that's that. And then the African art, some of it is from my father that I inherited when he died, and some of it are things that my husband and I have collected over the years. This was the first piece, the first vessel, and then these guys. As an ending for this video, it's hard for me to talk about anything really, because there's just an awful lot going on in the world right now that's causing me to be pretty preoccupied, and I think it's difficult to concentrate, and it also starts to feel it starts to feel difficult to even talk about my art. But I'm just going to dive in here and say that I know I'm not the only one who's feeling this way, and I travel. I love to travel. And I've traveled all over the world, and I've met some of the most amazing people, and I've been incredibly blessed in that I am able to travel. And one of the things I love about traveling is how it opens my eyes to this big world that we all occupy, and how there are cultures and people who are different and speak different languages and eat different foods and believe different things. And when you're in that country, it is always fascinating to see how much more alike we are from each other than not. We are of the human race, as much as I think our sort of tribalism comes in, and we want to believe that somehow we are unique. We're not. We're all in this together. We're all occupying the same home, which is this earth. And the things that we deeply care about, our families, the things that touch us, are universal. We all care about the people in our lives that we love. We all care deeply about the things that we care deeply about. Traveling so much has shown me time and time again that these are our brothers and sisters. We are all one. And we have one home, which is this planet. These are tough times, and to those of you who are really getting hit hard, I just want to offer love. And to remind myself, really, and if this resonates for you, great, to try to find the beauty and the joy and laughter in every day. Because no matter what's going on out there, I can find beauty and joy and laughter. And that cannot be taken from me. So I'm going to cling to that. And I embrace all of you and hope that you're able to as well.